Hey, greetings everyone. It is GleeCon, and I'm here again. Missed you guys. I'm ready to do another episode of Lore of Warcraft. That's why we come here over 1,000 episodes in. Um, on the last episode, we looked at kind of the finishing of our 9-player cycle that we do with our priest, Callie, and she's running around Stone Talon Mountains. Um, she managed to finish off the Venture Co. kind of sabotage, but then there is a quest that's just redonkulous that she's going to have to come back much later, possibly get some help to do. It says it's a level 22 solo quest, but you have to fight like 3 waves of 3, 4, 5 mobs at a time that are all level like 22, 23, 24. So the and keep a guy alive during it. So it's not happening anytime soon. Maybe with a mage, you could get 2 mana, or if you're much higher level. A lot of the people I read were like closer to level 30 and they still struggled. So we're going to see. Um, she did some other things too. I think killed some elementals and started the grinding in the Charred Vale, which is going to probably make up the majority of her time there as she levels up. We've also been reading the Dark Horde. The Dark Factions. We read the Dark Horde last time in that was our section, which is this is a Dungeons and Dragons source book. It's the last one before we move on to a mini project in our kind of side, non-canon, canon-ish type of lore. So stay a while and listen as we do another one of these small ones. This is called the Darkmoon Faire. I guess it's a faction. Yeah, I mean, you can do things. I don't know that you can get rep within this. I don't know. It says there's a membership of 9,700. I mean, not 9,700, 97. Which I'm guessing you could say that makes sense. Okay, that's the people that work the fair itself. They're true neutral. I can get on with that. All they're interested in is giving a good fair. There is a manga about the Dark Fair that we read, the Darkmoon Faire, and it came out in a patch. We haven't done it yet because I have my book on what came out with which patches in the other room because I was doing a little um, planning on something else for the game, but I brought it out. So it says the Darkmoon Faire travels the world gathering mysterious delights and delightful mysteries. It spends most of its time in parts unknown, as its members say, but every month or so it stops south of Thunderbluff and Mulgore or near Goldshire and Azeroth's Elwyn Forest, where it is when it's not in either of those places is beyond me. I would guess other lands or in transition. I don't know, but there's nowadays I think it's found maybe in some other places, but I could be wrong. And we will play the Darkmoon Faire. We're not going to skip it because I want to experience kind of playing around with that. So we'll do a couple episodes of messing around with the Darkmoon Faire. But later on, because it wasn't originally when this game was released, Darkmoon Faire wasn't part of the first patch. But it does come pretty fairly quickly. The Darkmoon Faire boasts a host of entertainments for the connoisseur of the questionable. On the surface, it appears to be a business, and it makes money by inviting people in to participate in a variety of games, ogle strange beasts, and see interesting sights and individuals, including the strongest woman in the world. You can also have your fortune read. The Darkmoon Faire is a traveling carnival, and it's not vanished into mysterious parts of the world. It sets up its colorful booths and banners in Mulgore or Elwyn, so members of both the Alliance and the Horde can partake of its wonders. The fair offers a variety of diversions for people of all stripes. I must admit I was a little suspicious when I passed beneath the fair's lively green and purple bunting for the first time. I doubted there was anything in there that would appeal to me. They're a dwarf of deep thoughts with an eye for true mysteries, though the fact that members of various races would get together to create something like the Darkmoon Faire does have an intrigue. I have to admit, I know there are things, I think there's a buff called Wii or something like that. Wii! But I know there's a way that Darkmoon Faire either helps you with experience or helps you with rep grinding, or maybe both. There are some buffs you can get from there. So I do know it's popular for that. There is a slew of achievements that go along with it, but they're not part of some of the meta seasonal achievements like What a Long Strange Trip It Is. I do have that on my main. I've never done. I've went in there and played around once or twice, but this is an area where when we do go in there and do some quests, I'm pretty virgin to it. I've only once or twice gone in there and done a few daily. It just seems like a kind of a weird optional place to do kind of dailies in order, a week out of every month. Um, it's sort of like the birth of dailies, which I like the idea of daily as a isolated thing, like to unlock a very rare mount, like with what they did with the Frost Saber mount in Winter Spring. Although that's a pain to fly out there. Um, I like that. I don't like dailies for the sake of rep grinding. Even World Quest, it's just I know there's a I would personally rather just kill mobs ad infinitum than just keep doing dailies, doing World Quest. That's the part that makes this game a grind, because then you start to feel, if I'm going to hit these deadlines, I've got to log in every day and do my dailies and my World Quests. And I do think they're slowly moving away from that. But and I will do the grind, and I have on a lot of expansions. But this is kind of the birth of, I think, where that idea starts germinating. I think I was mostly correct. Entering the Darkmoon Faire, you want to check your brain at the door. However, I underestimated the sheer entertainment value inherent in the place. The enthusiasm of the barkers and the booth minders and the patrons develops into something irresistible, and I found myself hooked. I also have a suspicion that the Darkmoon Faire is more than it appears. I tried, but I couldn't get a straight answer as to the Darkmoon Faire's history. No one seemed to know or to want to tell me, so I must surmise. Here's a picture of some kids and people walking around the fair. It looks like a gnoll is working there. In the middle, maybe that's a Tauren. Possibly he's an elf type figure in the background. Since the Darkmoon Faire appeared in the world only recently, it must have come to being only recently. I know that Silas Darkmoon is in charge of the fair and invented it. He's a little bald-headed gnome that we read about in the manga. The fair includes members of many different races, so my guess is that the Darkmoon Faire was once a small and forgettable operation that gradually recruited more interesting individuals until it was the Darkmoon Faire that exists today. Also, perhaps the time is now right for the fair to be a hit. In these difficult days, we all need a little escape. With the tensions between the Alliance and Horde, it feels good to see trolls and gnomes working together. The Darkmoon Faire is a business. Don't be fooled by the surprisingly few goblins involved, and good business practice is to be friends to everyone. The fair splits its time between Mulgore and Goldshire, and therefore between the Alliance and the Horde. It is certainly a neutral organization. And unlike some other neutral organizations I could name, it does not use violence and underhanded tricks to pursue its agenda. Thus, others tend to view the Darkmoon Faire with amusement, whether or not they ever avail themselves of its services. Of special note is the fair's relationship with adventurers. It seems the Darkmoon Fair's members always have need of free agents for one reason or another, from making boots to gathering missing cards to collecting the eyes of dead bats, aka the kind of dailies that it sends you on. The fair pays its benefactors with Darkmoon Faire tickets, which the recipients can turn in to receive prizes, mostly of the mysterious what's in this box variety. In this way, the fair manages to secure outside services without really paying for them. Ingenious. And if anyone has the Ace of Beasts, please let me know. So there you go. That goes to show you that sort of, it's also got those Gasha box seeds. Except you're paying for it with your time. Organization. The most important members of the Darkmoon Faire are those who run the booths. The booths offer many different things. You can see the self-styled strongest woman in the world, play a variety of games involving hammers and thrown balls, eat delicious food, and drink yourself silly. Each vendor, for lack of a better term, not all of them sell goods, is in charge of his or her own booth and is in a constant state of improving his or her power to draw an audience. A vendor may alter her booth by providing new attractions or with new costumes or fireworks to enhance the booth's visual appeal. Silas Darkmoon is in charge of the fair as a whole, but he allows his vendors pretty free rein. As long as the vendors bring in people who spend money, Silas is happy. Silas is also in charge of making sure the caravan moves when it's supposed to move and goes to the places to which it's scheduled. Many other individuals are also involved with the fair, and these people's duties are myriad. They sweep trash and hammer spikes, they prop up tents, and make the food for the vendors. The food that the vendors eat, not what they sell. They repair wagon axles and replace elderly pack animals. They are also responsible for protecting the caravan as it travels, and as the fair includes many non-combatants and travels to mysterious lands, this job should not be underestimated. They bludgeon their enemies with everything from maces to last year's mutton. These are tough customers. The Darkmoon Faire frequents two places, an area of Mulgore southwest of Thunder Bluff and the Elwyn Forest near Goldshire. Where the Darkmoon Faire is when it isn't in either of these places I was not able to discern, nor do I know how it gets from one place to another. The closest thing to a real answer I got was that the fair spends a substantial amount of time in parts unknown, supposedly meaning that the rest of us sorry yokels have no idea where the fair is, instead of meaning that the fair is in an area of Azeroth that we have yet to discover. So what would be kind of neat, although it would kind of mess with the conceit of what the fair is, which is almost like a farmer's market that, pops up. In my town, we have something called First Friday. So, the first Friday of every month, there's like this kind of farmer's market bazaar that comes up in this open area. So it's kind of that concept. But what would be sort of neat is if they made it available all the time, but it was, it would be cool, like from a role-playing perspective, if it moved from place to place so you could actually track it. But yeah, that would also defeat a big part of the draw of why people go there. It would also make those buffs more powerful because they would be constantly available. My personal theory is that the Darkmoon Faire wanders certain areas in the wilds of Azeroth gathering secrets. I have a suspicion, this is only a suspicion, mind you, that the carnival is just a front. The fair's true purpose is to gather information and uncover mysteries. I can appreciate this, as secrets and forgotten lore are far more valuable to me and to many adventurers than glowing table legs and a few hours of idle enjoyment. Perhaps Silas shares what he discovers for a price with those who know the proper way to ask. The Darkmoon Faire is unique for many reasons. One of them is that its members come from all races. Alliance and Horde races are all represented in their ranks as the members of neutral or ordinarily hostile races. Orc children dash about, trolls hawk food and games, gnomes expound on their services from brightly colored booths, and a gnoll fortune teller reveals the future. If it is nothing else, the Darkmoon Faire is proof that the varied races can still work together for a common goal. The Darkmoon Faire accepts anyone willing to make the trek with them, as far as I can tell. I believe that recruits must also swear an oath of secrecy so that they do not reveal the fair's movements. Other than that, as long as you're reasonably healthy and dedicated, you're welcome to join. Enterprising businessmen can maintain their own booths, though the costs of building, maintaining, and transporting it fall to the owner. The entrepreneur also divides his profits between himself and the fair, but benefits from the draw the fair creates, the prestige of being associated with it, and the protection of journeying with a large and well-armed caravan. The fair always needs workers as well, who do everything from set up stages to fight hostile creatures on the caravan's journeys. These folks are usually young and join the fair because of a desire to travel the world and experience some excitement, but don't want to take the risk of being real adventurers. They're already kind of breaking like the space-time continuum because they appear in two places at once, outside of Mulgore and Goldshire. Most individuals who join the fair share a few things in common. Since they spend so much time in foreign lands, most have no families or don't particularly like their families. For similar reasons, the fair attracts its fair share, so to speak, of criminals on the run, though they're usually con artists and similar types, as their skills are helpful for marketing, and Silas Darkmoon allows no violence among his troupe. Okay, let's take a sidebar. Well, what if you wanted to be a PC and be a hero as part of the Darkmoon Faire? Well, the Darkmoon Faire has a huge variety of tasks available for heroes, from crafting items to collecting obscure trinkets from the far corners of Azeroth. Heroes could also join the fair if they enjoyed its particular traveling lifestyle. As members of the fair, the heroes might fight monsters and bandits that attack the caravan as it travels, and since no one knows exactly where the fair goes when it's not in Mulgore or Elwyn, these creatures may be strange indeed. If the heroes prove able, they may be in charge of all defense for the fair, including police-type action when the fair is in session. The fair may also send the heroes on various quests of the sorts they would normally send adventurers on. Doing so gives the heroes a constant source of patronage. As the heroes are eventually quite powerful, Silas Darkmoon may let them in on the fair's secrets, and perhaps send them to much stranger locales to gather mysteries and relics. Yeah, I feel like you could certainly have a campaign even that ran through the Darkmoon Faire. Okay, what are the leaders? Well, there's Silas Darkmoon, the male gnome. Much mystery surrounds Silas Darkmoon. He is responsible for creating the fair and keeping it running, but I'm unsure as to his real motivations. He boasts that his fair contains wonders from around the world and beyond. It includes exotic and powerful relics among its other wonders. Perhaps Silas is looking for something in particular. He might not even be truly a gnome. He could be a Nathrazine. He could be a dragon. Perhaps this is his way of distributing powerful magic items to adventurers worthy of them who can battle the Legion and Scourge effectively. Perhaps he's simply a businessman who sells whatever he can. In any case, Silas is always found with the fair, wearing dark adventurer's clothing and a wide-brimmed hat. There is Professor Thaddeus Paleo, the male human. Professor Paleo may be even more mysterious than Silas Darkmoon. He's in charge of collecting Darkmoon cards from adventurers who stumble upon them. Paleo claims that the Darkmoon Faire scattered decks of special cards throughout the world to see if any adventurers are intrepid enough to gather collections of all the cards in a single suit. 4 suits exist: beasts, elementals, portals, and warlords. When an adventurer returns to Paleo with all the cards of a suit, Paleo rewards her with a special, more powerful Darkmoon card, each of which is a valuable and potent magical item. I think they're trinkets. And here's a couple adventures, or just one adventure, really. A gnome at the fair, or yeah, there's 2, tells the heroes of his new booth ideas, which they realize are unstable and could destroy a substantial part of the countryside. Or an apothecary opens a booth at the fair, peddling minor healing potions and other aids. His customers don't know that his potions don't cure a thing. In fact, they're samples of his latest experiments. I feel like those are actually lamer than what we talked about before. Yeah, the adventure hooks could be you work for the fair, you're doing guard duty, you get sent on small adventures, you could perhaps try to defuse a base of people that maybe there's a bandit camp because you need to go defend from bandits and then eventually make your way to, like, there's all kinds of things, traveling other planes, revealing a secret, mysterious, true nature of who Silas or what the fair is all about, and then it could be world spanning. All right, well, we have another episode in the pipe, 5x5. Thank you everyone so much for watching and for listening to this show, Lore of Warcraft, and I will see you all next time.